Hello there. Welcome back to Alfa Romeo. We are getting very close to the end of the season here. I believe we have 6 races remaining, and we do. We have a couple of sprints though. That will be potentially a problem here because we do have some damaged cars. Powertrain wise, Bottas will probably be fine. But I believe that Show is in danger here, particularly with the engine, because this is his final engine. We'll have to see. There might be that we need to buy some new parts. We're looking good though, in terms of the cost cap. Shouldn't actually be a problem buying those new parts, and we might have gone a little bit too hard on the front wing for the regulations task. And see, we've basically hit that probably a little bit more than we needed, but we'll take that for sure. Still need a little bit of work on the chassis, particularly the airflow part. Same for the side pods. But I believe for the most part, we've caught up with most of the others, except for the suspension. Underfloor rear wing are just the dirty air cornering, which isn't, super... It's not super important to us. It's still important, but it's not something that we want to invest too much into. So we'll keep on doing research. Now, as I said, we have Qatar coming up. It is a sprint weekend. So... it's going to be a tad interesting how things go here. We'll go with the 2 drivers in the top 15. So basically both drivers into Q2. Now, as I said, we do have a couple issues here with our head of aerodynamics. We probably want to renew his contract for a month. Well, not a month, a year. So we might replace him next year. And probably the same is going to happen to drivers here. We're going to give Show a 1-year contract, because what I kind of want to try and do with both this save and the AlphaTauri save is that Porsche is going to come in as a reserve next season. But after the second season, we might promote Porsche here to potentially Show's seat. We'll have to see. If he still keeps on crashing, we might just have to let him go, because Show actually has a pretty balanced stat here. He's very, very balanced stat-wise. The only thing that's kind of falling behind is defending, and the only thing that's kind of ahead is control and smoothness. So he shouldn't be as error prone as he is, and that is potentially a problem with the aggression. What I am thinking we're going to do, as I said, we're going to renew him for probably a year, maybe 2 years, just to make life a little bit easier. And we're going to be using Bottas and Show both for next year. But after season 2, we're going to be promoting Porsche, is the plan. The current plan. It might change. Just keep that in mind. I'm planning on promoting Porsche to either Show seat or Bottas seat. He'll take one of those. And for that third season, we're going to try and pick up Sophia Blush for... I probably pronounced that wrong, and have been for a while. But I'm thinking we're going to try and pick her up for reserve for a season, see if she develops any way. And then we will promote her to a racing seat in basically the 4th season. So... it's pretty long in terms of planning, but it should make things a little bit interesting here. So with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and basically jump into the sprint weekend here and see if we can have a decent result. Honestly, though, we are basically kind of done with the season, honestly. We have achieved what we would set out to do. We will not be cashing Merc. That just isn't viable. We could find Alpine for 5th here, but honestly, it doesn't come with anything but negatives for us to do that. There's no big, great reason for us to go for 5th over 6th. So honestly, if we can, I will force Show to drive the rest of the season with these bad components, if they survive the next 6 race weekends, which in theory, they might. But I might have to take manual control of the practices and save the engines if I want to do that. So we'll have to see exactly how we pull that off. But if we can, we'll do it, because again, we have achieved what the board wanted. The board wanted 7th or above. We have nailed that one. So, honestly, I'm fine with that current situation, although it might be a little bit boring. It's a boring decision, let's be honest. But I think it's going to be worth it, because doing research is going to pay off way more for us come next season and season after that than spending money and effort on, holding on to this 5th place. Worst case scenario, we get 6th, and that is fine. But let's get into Qatar and see how we do.
On. And makes contact with the wall. And that's definitely not how they would have imagined their qualifying going today.
Luckily for us, not our cars causing a red flag during quali. We'll take that for sure. We have gotten one flying run in for both our cars, so that is, you know, kind of nice. But at the same time, this doesn't actually help us in any way, shape, or form because, as I said, we've gotten one flying run in, and as a result, the red flag is just going to reset our confidence back to, you know, lower levels here, which means that we need to try and do one more run. Basically, we now have turned this into Q3 practice, so we'll see if we can get our way through. But Verstappen out here basically means that we should get one car at least out of Q2. We'll see where we actually end up in terms of qualifying. Not the worst quali ever. Show ended up 9th. Bottas ended up 11th, which is unfortunate, but he did end up getting locked by a slower car on both of his flying laps. In this case, Tsunoda on the first one, Hulkenberg on the second one. So it's just bad timing. It happens. Show got through though and qualified 9th, so we'll take that. But considering that he has already damaged the engine, we kind of want to limit just how much he runs it, so to speak. Now, what we are going to do here is kind of cheesy to some degree because these are 0%, but they're orange, which means that they're actually fine to use for one practice if we were to sim it. He won't get that full practice run, of course, but I feel like it's worth to just get these used now during the sprint weekend because there's no reason not to. And what I mean by this is actually very simple. We already have our car set up. The only thing that we'll improve here is really track acclimatization. So the setup won't change. This is the only thing that will change. And honestly, while having the confidence boost is nice, we don't really need it. So that is why we're using kind of broken parts here for their last hurrah, so to speak. And unsurprisingly, we don't do a lot of running. As you saw, that one of our cars did 7 laps before that piece broke. So if you use a piece that has 0%, it's going to break pretty quickly, and it's going to limit how many laps your drivers will actually do. So it does work as intended. It's not really super cheesy or anything like that. It's basically just a way for you to limit how many, well, it's an expensive way for you to limit how many laps they're going to be running in a sim. So there you have it. That's one way you can actually, you know, kind of slow down the usage of components by using a basically broken one in practice. But yeah, it is what it is. Now we do have the sprint here, and if I'm not mistaken, it should be fine to run it on the mediums on full attack. I think the gradation isn't too bad here. Or am I misremembering? Let's update strategy. See, because it looks also like yeah, medium on full attack will be better. So we can just run the mediums on the aggressive if we need to. And we have more mediums to use than hards. Shohei only has one set of hards. So we'll go with this for both cars. It should be okay. And honestly, that should be fine. Now, it's the sprints. I didn't actually check how many how well tires to grade here. But as you can see, we are probably the only one running mediums, which will allow us to be way more aggressive. But the softs do have 4/10 worth of advantage. They'll be quicker for about 10 laps. So yeah, we might have put ourselves into a bit of a bad situation here, honestly. Probably should have checked how well the softs would be working here. But Show, doing a good job so far, already getting a position. Ocon with a bit of an incident. Apparently with Bottas, chassis and front wing damage.
Possibly Ocon's part of that. Now we're just proceeding through turn 4. The cars jostling for position.
That was janky. Yeah, that is Bottas with bit of damage, bit of everything here. And it is what it is. We'll just have to live with this. I don't think we can really pit him either. He is falling backwards though, so it might actually be worth it here to pit him. Could also potentially be worth it to just straight up retire him. But we'll have to see exactly how we want to play this, because as said, I'm a little bit unsure what would be the best move here, because Bottas is a lot slower than the rest of the pack. You can actually just straight up see it. And the fact that he's struggling to keep up with the Breeze and overtake him. But I think we'll just keep him out here. We'll just have to gamble on it for this sprint, and we'll see if we can make something up towards the end of it. Maybe not, because he is actually losing out to the Breeze pretty bad here. What I think we're going to do is put him on the soft tire, He's going to be at the back. We're going to have to replace that front wing. Honestly, it's not worth it. Like, position-wise, he's not going to catch up to the cars in front unless we have a safety car. So, but yeah, you can see that he is already struggling quite a bit here. Yeah, I think I was wrong. I think we just need to get him in, put him on the soft here. I would assume the chassis damage is actually the worst part here for him. But he is just straight up falling down the grid order. And we'll just have to deal with this in the best way we can. Show is running in 10th. If he stays with Ocon, he'll start 9th for the race, which is acceptable. And Bottas there has finished his pit stop. We are going to run aggressive to the end there for sure for him. We'll have to see if he can make up that 22 seconds. Now, as you can see here, we are above what we were expecting, which means that we should be able now to run attack till the end for show. So if he gets by Ocon, he can then start trying to hunt down Russell or Gasly, but honestly, I don't think we have any hopes of getting that done. But we could get luckier. We'll speed through, see where we're at the end of this the session. Verstappen, though, has caught us up here, so yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to stay with Verstappen, but if we could, it would be amazing. But as you can see, we're already falling pretty severely behind. And for Bottas here, even on fresh softs, he is running a full second slower than some of the other cars here. So, although I don't really like retiring the cars, in this case we're going to do it because we aren't really going to be able to get anything out of this. And we do need to think in terms of practicality. Basically, what we can get out of anything. So we are going to be retiring Bottas here.
Box.
Unfortunately. But yeah, we'll focus on show. We'll see if we can get him a little bit further up the pack here. But for now, 10th place is still very, very acceptable to us. So Merck actually pulled off something pretty amazing here with Hamilton coming in first. I don't know what kind of penalty show has picked up here, but I assume it's the practice one. But yeah, Hamilton actually beat Alonso. Pretty impressive. Now, Shaw actually ended up 10th here. We couldn't really catch up to the cars in front, but he did have a bit of a gap here to Nico, so no big deal. But we are going to have an interesting race here from a starting, well, viewpoint. We're going to have Bottas all the way in the back. We're going to have, well, Show in 9th apparently, even with the grid penalty. And we are missing the chassis because it did take damage. So it is what it is. Now, in terms of strategy here, this could be a little bit more interesting. Again, the softs will be better than the mediums for about 10 laps. The mediums will be better than the hards for about 30 laps. So, well, not 30 laps, 24 laps to be precise. But, okay, starting 10th. He's changing every time. But with that in mind, I think we might want to do medium, soft. Because as you also saw, that degradation was lower than anticipated. So with that in mind, we could try and do something a little bit cheeky. Looks like this might be a little bit too cheeky. But if we had a hard stint at the end on full attack, it might be doable. Because degradation was, as I said, lower than expected for that first stint. So let's see if we do that versus, say, an aggressive. Soft, medium. And the difference here is about 14 seconds. So running aggressive does have its benefits. Now, if we want to be really cheeky, we could start on the hards. Make something out of that. But I think we're going to start on the mediums here. Try and get as much done as we can. And we're going to do the same here for show. Start on the mediums, go full attack. It is just the best strategy that you have in your arsenal right now, unfortunately. And there's a reason why I say it should be probably a tad nerf. Because as you can see, even if we were to do, you know, as aggressive as we can on this strategy, it doesn't even get close. In this case, I probably would do something like this. Which honestly probably wouldn't be too bad because we'll be able to pit early. We'll have a lot of free air to contend with. But I think we're going to do this one. Just full attack, 2 medium stints, a hard stint. Of course, sorry, not pit stops. Safety cars can change that. But I think this will be the most viable strategy here. Even though the hards aren't super good, we do need to use another compound other than the mediums. And the soft state just lasting 10 laps isn't really that beneficial to us. We can even have a look and say what doing 2 hard stints would do to us. And as you can see, it would be just a tad slower. So we're going to do this. It'll be fine. It should be perfectly okay. And again, we're kind of avoiding the softs here. But degradation wise, you can get 4 tenths the first lap. You're gonna get 3.6 tenths the second, 3.2 the third. So you'll gain a bit of time for sure, a decent amount of time at that versus medium tires. But that is if you run them standard. By us running aggressive or attack, we'll more than make up for that advantage that the softs have. Interestingly enough.
We're about to get going here in Qatar.
I'm wondering if Hamilton can hold on to his position, but as you can see, mostly we have medium runners. There's some soft runners towards the back. And 10th are down, except for us, Piastri and Sargent. Everyone is running the soft compound, so that should be a little bit interesting. Bottas up into 17th. Not too bad there. Joe, I was about to say, kind of holds on to his position, still fighting the Ferrari, but honestly, us losing out against the Ferrari is not a big deal, particularly when that Ferrari is running soft tires, but Joe does not agree with me. He is ready to fight. Bottas gets the position up. So far, honestly, a really, really good first lap. Again, I don't care if Leclerc overtakes us. That is perfectly fine. We're going to have our fight with Norris, Hulkenberg, and Gasly, most likely, so we'll deal with them as we go here. For now, though, I think that we have kind of reached a stable configuration, if you will. Stable position. Bottas will, of course, try and make his way up the grid here. Past the Williams, past the AlphaTauris. And we'll have to see what happens with Verstappen, because he's currently running in the back, but I assume as soon as we get a little bit of... a DRS, that's going to change pretty drastically. I don't know what happened here too, because that was Albon with the lockup, and then he collected everyone.
The action. It's all at the final corner. And there's the lockup, and they ended up their own passenger.
That looks a tad weird, but okay, because Albon is still ahead of us. So I don't know exactly what happened there. We did use a little bit too much of the battery too, so we'll just harvest a tad here, get back into it. But that did cause a bit of a gap there for our boys to form, which honestly, it's not necessarily a negative thing. Show is getting kind of left behind here by Leclerc. We'd like him to stay with him if possible, but understandably, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Hopefully here. Hulkenberg will be slow enough that we can catch up that gap. And Bottas too is going to have his own gap to contend with. Degradation is kind of what we expected here. Probably a little bit less, so that's fine. And I think we'll just speed along to that first pit stop now, because Bottas is going to try and get through these cars as quickly and painlessly as possible. Show, get Hulkenberg, get Norris, and we'll see where we're at after that. We have a safety car. Multiple cars have crashed. I believe one of them is Russell. Luckily, none of our cars were involved this time around. Let's see exactly what happened here. Verstappen and Russell, I think. So we are in there. Oh, okay.
The teams will no doubt be very keen to establish the full extent of the damage.
That was an assassination attempt, honestly.
It's not.
That was straight up an assassination attempt. Now, we have both cars running basically inside of each other, which is going to make pitting here a little bit difficult. But it's definitely going to be worth getting both cars in. Get them onto a new set of mediums. So we are going to have to pray here that we have no pit stop errors.
Safety car.
And as I said, every car here is going to come in. So let's see if we can get out of it in 10th and 11th. Or if we end up, you know, in worse positions due to double stacking for one, but also due to the fact that we need to, you know, get things going. So we came out in 9th, that's the benefit. 13th, that's a bit of a loss. So we lost a couple of positions, but gained one. So yeah, not great, honestly. But now that this should be okay. Sorry, I need to press resume there, hit the wrong key. But with the hard stint, it's going to be a little bit more ambiguous of what we do here. We might need to just run these mediums on aggressive. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to lose us a decent amount of race time, but I don't think we have any other choice here, because the hards are going to be slow. We need to run the hards on attack to make the most out of them because of said slowness. So that is what we're going to do. Running them aggressive should be cold enough that we'll, you know, retain a little bit extra tire. Is the plan. So I think we'll still be okay. But that is going to be what we're going to have to try and pull off here. So in terms of tires, everyone except Paris went onto mediums. So we'll have to see how that actually, you know, turns out. Verstappen and Russell out, though, is... Honestly, we probably would have been better here without the safety car. Because we'd be able to do our original strategy, which would have worked out probably a tad better. But with the safety car here, we might actually end up in a situation where we can run these mediums on full attack until that hard stint. And still have some left to spare, so... Might not necessarily be a bad thing, honestly. Particularly with the fact that the safety car is lasting a few laps here, so we're just going to go gamble on full attack until we go to those hards. We're also going to have a tremendous amount of fuel, energy, everything. So we are going to go aggressive here. Now, as you see, Show's confidence is still just high, but Bottas is peak, so Bottas is going to have given a high risk. We're going to keep Show on the normal risk here because, again, he does have fairly high chances of making errors, so that should be okay. Now, with the restart here, Show is already fighting Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg pushing a little bit aggressively here, which isn't that surprising. We do have a damaged car to as well. But with us running attack here and everything, I think we'll be able to re-overtake them later. Restart was kind of safe. We did lose a couple of positions due to the safety car and, of course, the restart, but honestly, it's okay. We've had yet another incident of crashing. Once again, we just barely avoided. We are in the area, which is, you know, not very positive. We have both our cars in the picture. And it's Alonso and Hulkenberg that have a bit of a unlucky touch there. Very, very unfortunate, but at the same time, very beneficial to us, puts us up in 8th and 10th.
We need to get these tires to last.
And as you can see, I've tuned down their aggressiveness to just aggressive. Well, the pace rather than the aggressiveness. I tuned down the pace to aggressive to make sure that we can actually make these tires last the distance. So as you can see here, with the Ferraris, the Red Bull, the Aston and Hamilton running the first 6th place there with Gasly holding on. Our fight here is going to be with Norris and Ocon for 8th and 7th, and potentially with the cars behind as well. So the fight has been kind of clearly defined at this point, unless we get another safety car, which is, as is pretty doubtful at this stage. But that is basically where we're at. And with that in mind, since we're both running behind here, we're going to go with rarely defend to be a bit on the safe side. We're going to tune Bottas down to medium overtake aggression because he's running behind his teammate. And yeah, we're going to try and see here if we can get past both the Alpine and the McLaren. Probably going to be a tad bit difficult. Probably going to have to do that with the hard stop for the undercut. But, well, hopefully undercut. But we'll try and do our best here, and I'll be back once we actually get to those pit stops in about 7 or so laps time. We are going to be pitting Bottas this lap. As you can see, he is getting very close to that 30% mark. We'll have to see if we might need to just allow him to stay out a little bit longer on the tires. With that safety car, but probably the right idea here would be to do a attack hard stint rather than a aggressive medium. And we'll be pitting Show this following lap onto the hard tires. So it is what it is. A bit unfortunate, but that's how it goes sometimes. And because of the fact that we had to slow down our aggressiveness, we have kind of lost out in terms of catching the cars in front. But as you can see, everyone is going to have to pit at some point. Even Perez is pitting right now, and he was the only hard runner. So everyone is going to be pitting at some point. So the goal here for Bottas is just going to be as aggressive as it can be. Get a bit of a gap here. We're going to use a little bit of energy here to try and help that. Get Ocon here maybe. And unfortunately, I didn't tune him up early enough to make up for that. But we will just be tuning up Show here immediately if we can. Again, I do not like the fact that this menu takes so long to return, if you will. And the quicker we get by Ocon here for Bottas, the better. Because Ocon is going to be kind of a block to deal with. But getting by him now, starting to hunt down the other cars, is going to be, you know, very, very important. And degradation-wise, I think we'll be fine running these hards on full attack, provided we don't get stuck by another cars for too long. Hamilton pits now too, out just behind Paris, they went on to soft tires. That's going to be interesting, I think. Magnussen went on to softs, Ocon's on mediums. That could be very, very interesting because they should be a lot quicker than us to, you know, begin with. But at the same time, I think they're going to struggle towards the end of this race because there's still quite a lot of laps left to go before we're at the end of it. So soft runners might be a very good idea, run them normally. But we'll have to see once we get closer to the end here. Ocon actually overtakes us, and there's penalties here, including our cars crashing into each other, I believe. Nope, just Bottas taken out here. Terminal chassis, front wing, rear wing, suspension, gearbox. Yeah, I assume he got taken out by Alonso. So not a good day.
Yellow flag now.
I feel like my games have been kind of cursed lately. Just a lot of incidents. Tsunoda. Does Tsunoda hit the Aston that hits us? Okay. So yeah, basically we hit a stationary car on the road. Game has been kind of Yankee, I'll be honest with that. Sure though, down in 14th. We just have to try and make the best out of it. This should be a safety car, honestly. It's a virtual safety car, okay.
Stay positive.
This helps everyone but us, again. So, yeah, that's not going to be good. The time gap that we would have gotten from, you know, pitting early is going to be virtually gone. As you can see, Ocon and Norris are both out, fairly far out ahead of us. So this is going to be a bit of a struggle for show. And it's going to be a struggle for us too, because we're going to have to check just how much damage we suffered on those components for sure. The gearbox is gone. I think that was the final gearbox, so we'll be paying for new components there. It sucks, but it is just how it is sometimes. Honestly, that crash wasn't, I dare say, our fault. But it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. Magnussen and Hulkenberg now on soft tires right behind us. It's going to be a bit of a pain. The only thing we can really hope for here is being able to stay with those soft runners. And even that, I think, is going to be a bit difficult here for show. As you can see, it's already falling kind of backwards. But we'll do our best here, and we'll see where we're at once we get to the end of this race. As you can see, we're getting very closer to the end. Joe is actually battling with Norris here. So the hard gamble did kind of pay off. As you can see, most of them are running very low here on the softs. And our hards now are definitely the better tire, particularly because of the fact that we can run attack with no concerns for anything. And that is helping us out towards, well, in the battles with the cars behind for sure. Now, a good example of this is that we basically pulled away from Norris, kind of like Magnussen did for us initially. It's a bit of a shame that we couldn't keep up with him, but it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with that. And we still have one more lap here, but honestly, the only thing that we can achieve during this lap is probably crashing ourselves out. So it's unfortunate. Stroll picks up the victory though. So Alonso didn't die in vain. But at the same time, we are a bit frustrated about Bottas getting crashed out in kind of weird scenarios this weekend, I dare say. Show in 9th, we end up 18th here with Bottas, but yeah, it is what it is. Last row wins, Perez 2nd, Hamilton 3rd. I couldn't really capitalize there, but I believe he got screwed over by the virtual safety car. He pitted early. Gasly 4th, again, Ocon 7th. Our fight with Alpine is basically not going to happen with results like these, particularly when we have both Alonso and Verstappen crashing out along with Bottas. So yeah, that makes our life a little bit harder. Points for Haas and McLaren as well. Drivers then, we lose actually 2 positions there with Bottas, Stroll and Hamilton move up past us. And in the constructors then, we still remain in 5th, 27 points ahead of Alpine. But again, if they keep this up for the last 5 races, no way we're staying ahead. McLaren gets a point, catches up a little bit with Williams, but still, I don't see them catching them anytime soon. We still have the fastest pit stop, so we'll be happy with that. No pit stop errors this weekend is also nice, although as I said, the results there aren't really the best. Luckily enough, we didn't actually put in any performance guarantees that we couldn't actually carry out, so at least everything is still good on the financial side. Although, as I said, we'll have to have a look at Bottas' car here and see just how much damage we've actually suffered. So, as you see, Bottas' car had a bunch of destroyed components, 2 chassis, that's $1 million. Front wing, 1.2, 1.5, 1.8. Sideboards fails, that don't matter, but the gearbox. So basically 3 million here in this crash at the very least. And yeah, that's not what we like to see, particularly because again he started in the back because of a crash in the sprint, so it is a bit unfortunate. 2 more driver media appearance. Let's check what this sponsorship actually does for us. So both drivers appear, development is paused. Honestly, we're going to deny that. Like, the money is nice, and that is usually why I would like to have an older driver, so I can just put him up for 22 races, get a little bit extra cash during the year. But I still want Shoei to develop some more, although, as I said, the money would be... probably be about an extra 500,000 or so. We can deny that, honestly. Don't want to make it a little bit more, you know, problematic than it already is. Now, with the car, let's see if what we can actually replace here. We are going to need to manufacture 2 more chassis. It's just how, you know, things are. Front wing, gonna manufacture 3 more because, well, we're gonna need that. I should probably manufacture 4 since we actually haven't one installed on both cars. Rear wing 2, make 1. It takes 3 days. Just get these easy projects out of the way first, I think. Side pod failed. We still gonna need 1 more of those. The underfloors are fine though, which is nice to see. Gonna need a suspension. So we're lacking a side pod and suspension at this stage in, you know, our development build. And as I said, unfortunately, that gearbox is gone. We still have 1 more, so we'll see how far we can get with this one. But yeah, it's not too good. We didn't lose too much though in, you know, the other capacities, so we're kind of fine with that. Now, what I'm thinking we're going to do here now is actually negotiate contracts for the head of aero. We're going to give him a season next season, give him a 1.4 million contract maybe, and a 40,000 signing. And again, we just want to give him a 1-year contract so we can, you know, kick him out of this contract coming next season, when we might get some better, you know, options. Now, he was actually fine with the contract length and everything. It's just the pay, so 1.6 maybe? And again, his pay doesn't actually come out of the cost caps. We can actually pay him as much as we want. How much do you want? 2 million? It's going to cost some money to break your contract next season. That's the only problem. Again, I really would just like it if we could get some, you know, guesstimations of how much they want. Because right now, this isn't a contract negotiation. It's me trying to make a child happy, is what I feel like. So 2.5, we're getting close. We have run out of patience though, so we'll have to discuss later in the season. For show here, I have no idea what kind of contract he'd want. Probably, considering that Tsunoda, I believe, wanted up to was 8 million. I can see that it's probably going to be the same here for show. We're going to do next season. We're going to put him in the car for 2 seasons. Give him an okay contract. Again, we'll just buy him out if we need to. He's probably not going to like the race bonus even if we add it in. So let's go with 7.5 to start with. Because again, the contract negotiations are pretty expensive this time around. He doesn't have the greatest morale either, which is going to make this even more difficult. I hate that I can't round that number up to, you know, a proper number. And I actually overpaid him here. Okay. I gave him too good of a contract. Did he start on that contract immediately? No. Okay, I did it correctly from that. But yeah, did pay him a tad too much there, but honestly, it's okay. We can deal with that. We will have to, as I said, renegotiate with the head of aerodynamics before the end of the season, because as we saw with the other save, if we want to negotiate on the last day of the season, they will add an extra season to the contract, an extra year, and you can't really do anything about that. Even with the contract you agree to, if you say 1 season, if you agree to a contract on the last day, it'll be 2 seasons, no matter what you do, because they'll somehow counter offer you and sneak that clause in, which is a bit annoying, but you can't really do anything about it, so we'll just have to live with it. Okay. Suspension in low stock. We'll fix that once we get a manufacturing slot open, so it's not a problem. Engine import condition, we know. We're going to try and keep that engine alive. But I think that's going to be real difficult, honestly. So we have figured out that we don't really need to put any map in the front wing. It would be nice to do so, but we don't really need to, so we will not. The rear wing here, getting some extra DRS effectiveness would of course be really, really nice. But I think we're going to do a chassis project. It is, again, falling a little bit behind. We do have a bit more we need to work on, particularly in the airflow aspect, because it's losing a lot. So we're going to do a chassis here, and we're just going to keep doing that one engineer. We might put in more engineers as we go later on. Honestly, we could potentially do this and just max out the kind of gains here for the chassis. It is a cheaper component, so let's just keep it going with 6 engineers till the end to kind of max that out and catch up. Now, the underflow research here, I don't know if we actually want to do. The reason for that is actually very simple. We'll get back to that in a second. Just want to get the suspension made here before I forget. The underfloor research, although it is nice, don't get me wrong, underfloor is basically, as I say, the base of the car. It gives a decent amount of stats all around. I don't know if this is what we really want to focus our efforts onto. I do want to have a better DRS effectiveness, get my overtakes more easily next season. It'll help with the top speed. Honestly, it isn't that far off the underfloor in terms of gains here. But at the same time, I think what we're going to do here is potentially put some CFD time into, well, the next CFD period, either into the underfloor or the rear wing, even though I did probably say that I want to do suspension. So we'll do another underfloor. We'll just do them a little bit back and forth here. I am very, again, I'm a little bit uncertain what will actually benefit us the most here. But we could, of course, just make the rear wing extra focused on DRS effectiveness next year to make up for potential lack of research. Coda is coming up here now, and that is also a sprint weekend, unless I'm mistaken. Am I mistaken? Probably. And once again, we're just going to play it a bit safe here. Both drivers, top 15, both drivers in Q2. And it'll just gives it a little bit extra money, but it's going to be worth it from, you know, from a perspective here. It does not tell me if it is a sprint weekend, but I might be, you know, a little bit silly here. I'm trying to see if there's anything that tells me if it is a sprint weekend or if I'm misremembering things. But yeah, I was gonna say a lot of them have already used all their parts. Well, I guess we'll figure out once we actually go. But that is our current scenario. We'll have to see if we can keep things alive because we want as much money as we can next season. Alpine is probably going to overtake us in championship, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make 100 times over. We had an incredibly bad quality here, 15th and 16th, as you can see, meaning we are going to get punished because we did not reach our goals. It is what it is, though. Not really anything we can do with that, but it does leave us into a position where we have to make a decision. The engine is damaged. If Bottas doesn't have any crashes, he will survive till the end of the season. Probably going to need a new RS potentially, but honestly that too should be fine. But Show here, no way he's making it to the end of this engine. Because, well, we're going to use more than this over the course of 6 races. And, well, 5 races now. But at the same time, we are going to end up using more. We might survive the gearbox, probably won't survive with the ERS. So what I am thinking here is that we might take a double engine penalty. It's either that we take the double engine penalty or that we do the cheesy thing and just retire for the last 3 races or something like that. Well, the last couple, really. But again, I feel like that is a tad too cheesy. So we are going to kind of nerf ourselves a little bit here by taking money that probably would have been better spent upgrading our car part test center and getting both boys an extra engine. And that should be, unless we have some massive crashes again, that should be enough till the end of the season. We'll have to see with Bottas though, because I think he's also going to need a new gearbox. Because we only have that one left. So we'll pick up a new one. And we'll use that new one for the race itself. And for Show here, we're going to pick up a new engine. Of course, we will not be using it for practice. We are going to need a new ERS here too, probably. Most likely. And I think he can make it on the gearboxes because he still has gearboxes for practice. But we are going to buy him a new ERS too. So this is going to be really, really expensive. We just spent about 13.5 million on new components. And that goes on the cost cap. So once we're done with this weekend, our cost cap is going to be quite a lot smaller. But I think this is the best option that we have to not be too gamey. I do know that I say gamey here, but honestly, the best choice that we had from a strategic standpoint here would probably be to just retire, do as well as we can in the remaining 5 races, and then just retire from the rest. That would probably be our best option here. But I feel like we need to try and complete all the races over the course of the season, even if it comes with negative effects like, you know, not having enough components. Now, this is gonna, you know, put us at the back of the field no matter what we do after the sprint. So if we really want to, we can actually run the sprint here on 1 components. That's actually the best choice that we have right now. Run the sprint on 1 components. Because no matter how well we improve, we are going to be put to the back of the grid, as I said. So we save the components a little bit by running 1-1s. I don't know if we want to run a broken gearbox as well. Starting 10th and 9th. Why are we starting 10th and 9th? Okay, apparently a lot of penalties have been applied. Let's just put on the best that we can. Do the best that we can with what remains here to the end of the season. We might also, as you can see, that get bought at the new ERS at one point, but honestly, I think it's fine. This ERS is still usable for a little bit more, so we'll do that. And let's see how this works. We might not have needed to just show a new ERS, but I think it is the best thing that we can do to make it a little bit more realistic. Now, as you can see, running full attack on the hards, it's going to save us about 13 seconds. It is viable. Running aggressive on the mediums is not. So 30-46 versus 30-42. So we could just run normal on the mediums and we'll get about the same. Or we can run a full attack stint on the hards. Softs here, not really viable either. If we do this though, they kind of do become viable. At the same time, I think what we do here is just start on the hards. It's either that or we save 2 sets of hards for the race, which probably is going to be a better choice. So we're going to start on the mediums, and we're going to just run them normally. We're going to be aggressive on the first 2 laps as we usually do, and then we'll just tune them down to normal. I will have a switch to strategy here so that we can actually see where degradation is supposed to be. And again, we are going to be put to the back of the grid here once, you know, things start, but that's just a penalty that we'll have to take here.
Here in Texas for the sprint.
Where are we? 15th and 16th. Okay, so yeah, we would have started 9th and 10th for the race, but we're going to take penalties. That's going to put us even further down, but that is all right. We had a red flag here, first corner. Luckily, we're fine. Red flag stopped. Yeah, that shouldn't happen. Yeah, we've had some damage here for both of these cars. Unfortunately, we don't gain any positions because, well, everyone stopped on track. We're going to get... Well, we're actually going to get 3 positions because all of them ended up actually DNFing. I think we still just stick with the medium tire. And we can just run it more aggressively if we want to. The sauce didn't really, you know, show up as a good choice for me. But yeah, this is a bit interesting. And that is... that's one way to have a first corner incident. Looks like we were safe this time around, which is nice. Bottas is making places up already, up into 10th. And we'd like to see that. Now, as you see it, because of the red flag, we're actually on lap 3. So we skip a couple of laps. And that does leave us with potential of running these more towards the aggressive end, towards the end of the race. We end up with a lot of extra fuel. So we now have some pretty interesting chances here that we can try and take advantage of. But again, we're going to be put to the back of the grid. We might be able to score a point or two, maybe. We'll see. But it does open up for some shenanigans. Let's put it like that. Now, I'm going to tune down both cars a little bit early here, but honestly, we are getting stuck behind other cars. Can't really get by them. So there's no need for us to really push, because the only thing we're doing is burning extra tire by doing so. So we'll tune down the mediums, and as I said, we might just run them a little bit more aggressively towards the end of the race. We do need to get by Albon here, hopefully quick. We do show has gotten by Hulkenberg, and all of them are also running the medium tire, as you can see. So nothing too surprising here in either direction. We'll keep things going though and see where we're at the end of the sprint. We've had an incident here with a couple of crashes. The Alpines have touched each other.
Like the Alpine.
So that saves us a little bit, but at the same time, it's not great. That is a dangerous place to park, but in this case it looked like we were safe.
Honestly. Oh.
And depending on who got the penalty, oh, it's actually a red flag. I guess they had to stop behind Hulkenberg there in the corner. Show is off track. He has sparks. That's not good.
Along the straights here. And there's the contact.
Did he get sent? Okay, did he just get sent by the Haas? Is that what I just saw? Because that's what it looked like. We are going to go for the softs here. At this stage, it's 9 laps to go. But yeah, it looked like Show got sent by Hulkenberg. And depending on the damage there, we might be forced to just retire him for the rest of the season.
Now for the sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go.
That incident did look a tad silly indeed. So let's just check here for Bottas what we can do. We can go full attack till the end. And it's going to be quicker than staying on the normal one by just 5 seconds. But it is 5 seconds over 10 laps. So we'll go with that. Full attack till the end here. See if Bottas can make up some places. We got Albon in front, then Alonso. So we might get Albon, but the rest here is going to be a bit difficult to get, I think. Leclerc is actually on medium tires. Gasly and Hulk still both have penalties. So even if they overtake us, I don't think it will be a problem. But yeah, don't know what to think about that. The fact that Show got kind of shafted again, because I'm pretty sure that wasn't Show's fault. But the cars do get sent flying a little bit too hard here, and it's honestly a tad disappointing. Particularly when one of the things that they were praising in at the pre-release streams was that, oh, we reworked the race engines, the crashes look better now. They still look very, very slidey to me, unfortunately. Looks like the cars don't really have any weight in the physics engine, which is a bad... I was about to say bad thing, but which honestly is just a bit disappointing. We saw particularly if you have a look at the recent stream, Piastri doing a little bit of a dance, if you will. Now, we're still good here on the tires, but we do need to get by. Albon here is doing a great job being a bit of a roadblock. You shouldn't have DRS now on the straight though, and that should allow us to just breeze by him, I would hope. Although the Williams is a monster in straight line speed, so I guess we need to deploy what we have left here to get by him. Got it just about done. We'll see if we can hold on to this position though. That's going to be the thing here. And see if we maybe be able to hunt down the others, because Leclerc is on mediums. So he might actually be helping us out here a little bit. But it is probably going to be a bit tad difficult even then, because we do have a very aggressive Albon behind us, and he might try and go for the overtake. Yeah, Albon behind us is slowing us down for sure. We'll have to see what we do here, because it's dangerous to have him behind us as well. But 7th is still very acceptable. I don't think really there's anything we can do to catch up to the castle front. They're just a tad too quick. And we have our own battle to contend with back here, basically. We didn't even get DRS on that lap, so... Might need to just turn down the tires a bit, recharge, get ready to fight, because as you can see, the rest of the field is not running the tires as aggressively as we are. Last lap. Bottas gets the overtake done into that first corner. The main thing now is just going to be staying ahead on the straight, so I think we'll deploy here. See if we can get a little bit more of a gap for that straight. So far, so good. Although this looks like Albon will be able to maybe launch a tiny attack. Nope, we're safe. And that should give us a couple of points here over the Alpines, which will be good. But at the same time, it's not a good race because we did see Show get absolutely yeeted there. And potentially those new components will already need replacing. So yeah, a bit frustrating. But we did end up in 7th here. We'll take that. 2 points is honestly a good result for us. But of course, it is kind of marred here by the damage. Okay, we did luckily run the older one, but that new gearbox is already gone. The engine survived a tad better, but even so, this is silly at this point, honestly, with the amount of damage that we're suffering. And again, we're going to end up breaking cost cap here. There's just no way around it. It's just how it's going to end up being, because we are going to have to spend $1 million here on new gearbox. It's not a bad, you know, super bad, but then again, it's six gearbox now, and I think this is the limit that we're going to set. If he breaks any of these other components here now, he's going to be not doing anything else. This is the allocation is given 4-4-6, which is honestly 1 engine, 2 ARSs, and 2 gearboxes over what he's supposed to have, which is, you know, a decent amount of money. It is 12 million that we've extra invested into Show now. I don't know if we're actually going into debt after this, but that is kind of, you know, kind of expensive, let's be honest. For Bottas here, we're just going to leave him as he is. Getting him a new gearbox here, getting him a new ERS here would probably be the play. But I think we might be able to just nurse him through on what we have. And that's what we're going to be hoping for, honestly, that we can just nurse him through on the pieces that we have right now. So, soft degradation here is for basically 3.5 tenths. Well, 3.5 tenths advantage, and with the degradation being 500s, that's just 7 laps before the softs start being slower than the mediums. Not really optimal, honestly. Medium to hards is a little bit over 5 tenths, but they do give you basically how many laps is this? 400s, 5 tenths, 13-14 laps advantage. And if we go a look at hard to soft here, the softs have basically 9 tenths advantage over the hards, but the degradation here is 900s. So soft to hard advantage is gone in 10 laps. Then we have the pit lane. It is short, so that isn't really a big concern. But what we could do here, because we are starting in the back, is start on the softs, then go... Do we not have 2 sets of hards for you? I thought we did. Only 1. 3 sets of medium. Do we have 2 sets of hards for you? We do, okay. So what I'm thinking is that we might do something a little bit cheeky like this. See if we can make this work, maybe? But even this is going to be a tad too, you know, difficult, as you see. So if we do something like this, maybe, where the idea is that on that first soft stint, we kind of push it, try and get as many overtakes done as we can, then we pit. As you can see, it's 130, 130. But I think if we look at this, it's going to probably be a little bit better. Yeah, better just start on the mediums, go into the hards. That works too. Or we could start on the mediums and then do 2 very aggressive hard stints here. See if we can pull that off. We could pull off a hard attack stint on the final one. Something like this. And this one, 31.30, 31.22, 31.20. So, I'm not sure what is going to be the best here, honestly. This one carries a little bit of risk. This one has actually a little bit more wiggle room to do at the same time. So, while not necessarily optimal, I think we're going to go with this one for show. And for Bottas, we could try and do something like this, where he does, you know, go a little bit more aggressive with it from there. But as you can see, it's going to be, even that is going to be a tad too difficult. It's going to be hard to pull off. So I think the aggressive, medium, hard is going to be the best bet that we have for Bottas. It's not going to be a great strategy by any means of the imagination, but it is Coda. It's kind of hard to get a really, really good one. And we are going to be taking a lot of penalties here. So starting positions here do not reflect where we're actually going to be starting. But yeah, the fact that Show basically broke a gearbox there, broke some ERS, broke some engine. I really wish I could just send the bill to Haas for that one.
We're not far off now. Here we go. It's the United States Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
That was an amazing start there from Bottas. He still started 5th somehow. I guess we did kind of bug it out then. Because he shouldn't have started 5th, let's be honest. He should have started further down.
Overtake is available.
And for sure here, he too didn't get any more punishment even after we went ahead and gave him those new engine parts. So I don't know exactly what's going on here about the new gearbox. But we're running 4th, we're running 13th. We're going to, of course, try and make the best out of the situation, particularly considering the fact that we have bought new components. So hopefully we can stay with the cars in front. There's 5 soft runners, the rest are mediums, which honestly is also probably what you expect here. And what we are going to do is just go very aggressively here now for the first lap, see if we can stay with Hamilton and, you know, get a bit of a tow there from the cars in front. We are falling backwards though with Bottas, so the tow here might have to be given by Sainz instead. But it should still be okay, honestly. It should still work as expected here, because again, we just need a tow to keep us up front, and it'll be okay. Tune down the tires to aggressive here. It might be a little bit difficult to keep them alive till the pit stop by doing so. We might need to tune them down even further at one point, but honestly, for now, this is what we're going to hope for being enough. Show is still running in 13th. With DRS though, he should be able to, you know, start making some moves, but the DRS train still goes up all the way to Norris. So we do have a little bit of work ahead of us in that regard. But Show gets the move done here. Gets immediately re-overtaken though. And he's back to fighting with a Haas, which, of course, is dangerous for us. Hopefully he doesn't get sent to the Shadow Realm again. Bottas is falling backwards, which again isn't that surprising. Our car is probably the 8th or even 9th best on the grid at this stage. So it is what it is. We'll try and do our best to just stay in the points. For now though, we'll speed things along to that first pit stop. We'll manage our fuel, probably go down to about 1.2 kilograms. And then we'll see where we're at. We'll see actually end up at, you know, pit time.
Albon's involved in that.
We've had our first major incident with Albon and Tsunoda. Doesn't look like there will be any big damage there. Luckily enough that Merc didn't actually hit them. But yeah, first big incident here. Currently we're running 8th and 11th. We did use a little bit more fuel than anticipated. But that is my bad. I got distracted. And honestly now we are running actually in a fairly good window for us, honestly. We have lost, you know, grasp with the cars in front, but that is kind of what we expected. Gasly is just a little bit better in there. Norris should be pitting fairly soon, but so are we. So, honestly, while not in a great situation, it is an acceptable situation for us.
Yellow flag here.
This is really good considering when we consider how well our car actually is in terms of, you know, where it should be. Now we have a safety car, and it's going to be a no-brainer here to just get both cars in immediately. So we're going to go ahead and do that.
Mode safety car.
Could actually be an idea, since we have the safety car here, to just get both cars on the hard
Trying
immediately.
to keep temperature on the front axle.
And I think that is going to be the play here. Just get both cars in on the hard. And it's going to be a little bit interesting here to see if Bottas comes out in 8th, because he has a lot of cars in front of him that he might box in here. So, already lost out. Nope, came out in 8th. We managed. Show is also about where he should be, so for once, the safety car pit stops didn't actually cause any problems. Russell, though, ended up with a problem of his own, and this is actually going to alleviate the issue that I had where I failed to, you know, deal with the, what's it called? The fuel. I forgot about the fuel, and we used a little bit too much. So, lucky for us. In terms of what we want to do here now, though, that is a little bit more up in the air. I think what we are going to be doing is probably try and keep the aggressive going here on the hard stint. And then we'll go on to medium for Bottas, unless, of course, we have another safety car. This is going to work out just fine for Show, though, because we can just keep him on aggressive. And honestly, both cars here should be just about fine. I'm going to do this, though, just in preparation of the safety car getting ready to, you know, finish. And it is probably going to still be okay here. Should be just fine.
Safety car in this lap, safety car in.
So Show's actually done an incredibly good job at getting up the grid here, considering that Bottas started 5th and he started down in 13th, 14th? 15th? I don't actually remember exactly how low he started, but he has made his way up the grid for sure. So we will, of course, be very, very happy with that. Safety car restart. Let's see if we have any interesting incidents here into turn 1. And looks like we have a pretty stable restart here where nothing has been gained or lost so far. Now Norris has already kind of been left behind, interestingly enough. So we might, if we're lucky here, be able to overtake him and close the gap to Alonso. And of course Bottas is going to have his own little gap here to close. But if we can pull that off, we might be able to, you know, latch onto a quicker DRS train. But unfortunately, it seems like we are just a tad too slow right now with our car. And honestly, it's probably the reality of things. So we'll keep things as they are now. We'll see if we can get anything done until the next pit stop there. Bottas get overtaken by Alonso, which again is not a surprise either. So we'll do our best and we'll see where we're at in, you know, about 20 laps time. We've had another incident here. Gasly and Hamilton by the looks of things, maybe. I did get a little bit of a heart attack there because those are cars again. They do tend to be on the scene a lot. And it's just a light tap between Hamilton and Gasly. Now, that shouldn't actually be any damage to Gasly, I think. Maybe a little bit to the rear tire. Okay, it's a lot of damage actually because he needs to pit now. It's basically a harsher penalty than what Hamilton received, interestingly enough. Because, well, Hamilton gets a 5-second penalty, Gasly gets a pit stop penalty. Or, you know, almost a drive-through to some degree. He does get fresh tires though, but unless he has an extra set of hards, he will have to pit again. And even then, it's going to be pretty close. As you can see, we have tuned our tires up to attack though. Because, well, we have a little bit extra to go on. Degradation isn't as harsh as expected. And the AI is basically, Sainz for instance, has been running attack. Some of the others, Piastri, well, Piastri has low smoothness, that might be why. But generally, it seems like a lot of other drivers have been running attack for that first part of their stint. Because before we started running attack, we had less degradation than everyone around us. So with us running attack now, we might make something out of this towards the end of this. And it's probably just fine to put Show on the extra hard there. We'll have to see how we handle Bottas. But for now, looking good, even though Bottas just picked up a bit of a penalty. Okay, what exactly happened here?
Now I'm just looking here, possibly Ocon's part of that. Now this was at turn 1. Dangerously close to each other.
Yeah, so we touched the back tire to Ocon, something like that. It did cost us some tire wear. And we also received a penalty, so yeah, not great. I guess we're just gonna have to run these tires to ground and run the mediums on standard, maybe? That's gonna be our best bet here. Well, yeah, that is an additional problem. Let's put it like that. And it did take some out of our tires, which is also not very good. But it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. We'll speed along here and see if we can get that bit stuff done. It's gonna have to be pretty soon. I don't want to run these hards on standard because we're just gonna lose a tremendous amount of time doing that, particularly with how used they are. So we're gonna run them on attack here, and we're just gonna run the mediums on standard instead. Basically do 1, maybe 2 more laps, and then we'll be pitting, because we don't really have much of a choice. And Ocon here didn't actually get any tire damage, so what I assume happened here is that we touched rear tire to front wing. I would assume that is what transpired, if you will. So for Bottas, we're going to get him in here. We're going to pitch for a new set of mediums. We're going to serve the penalty and come out pretty far back is what I would expect. Show, still running a 9th here. Fighting Stroll currently. Peak confidence. We'll just leave him as he is for the moment. And Bottas has served this penalty. He has pitted. He's going to come out behind Hülkenberg. So once he gets past Hülkenberg, he actually has a lot of free space though. So it's not completely bad. But we are going to have to run him on standard once we get the tires up to temperature. Should be, I thought it was 90. It's probably 95 then. Yeah. So we are going to be doing this. And as you can see here, people have now started pitting. And are we going to jump someone here? So Bottas almost jumps Hamilton there with even with a penalty. So yeah, we're going to get Show in. We're going to put him on a new set of hards here, and we're just going to have him run full attack and see if that actually does pay out for us. Leclerc has pitted, Verstappen has pitted, Alonso, Perez, Stroll has not pitted. Magnussen has yet to pit, so there's some cars in front here that Bottas could jump. And us staying with Hamilton here is probably not the worst idea, although getting by him would be nice. And we get that done, just about. And Hamilton here is on mediums too, so he should be running kind of the same setup that we are. Show, 6 seconds behind Hülkenberg. In terms of lap times here, Bottas is running 38.8 versus, as you can see, some pretty slower times back there. But even so, we're not going to be fighting for anything more than the last two points finishes at this point. I think that's going to be the goal here. Show is now up into 11th, although Sargent did just re-overtake him. I think we're going to have to deploy here, just get by, and create a gap. So that is going to be the goal here. Get the gap from Sargent, hunt down Hülkenberg. And once we pass Hulk, I think we're basically where we're going to end up finishing the race. Although Magnussen is also a bit of a wild card. Both Magnussen and Stroll have yet to pit. So if we can get by Hülkenberg here before we lose too much time, Bottas might be able... Sorry, not Bottas. Bottas is going to jump both of them. Show might also jump a couple of people in the pits, which would be pretty amazing, honestly. But yeah, degradation-wise, it's not looking too good. We've had multiple cars crashed again. Luckily not our cars this time around. Looks like Albon has been involved in another incident. Is it Albon and Tsunoda again? That one's fine. Can't really help with the spin there. That should be no safety car or anything, so we're good on that perspective too. But yeah, Bottas running 9th here now. He should be catching Stroll. I assume Stroll is actually planning to go into softs. Same with Magnussen here. And if we have a look at their last lap time, Stroll, Magnussen, 40 and 41, we are running a good 3 seconds quicker than them. Although they are pushing now, so I assume we are going to be seeing some, pit stops fairly soon. For sure, though, unfortunately, we couldn't actually get away from Ocon. Well, getting away from Ocon is probably not happening, to be fair. But we are running now in a really, really good position. Bottas needs to get by the two that haven't pitted yet, though, before they puncture and crash with them. So we'll see if we can pull that off now, because they're still staying out. That's the thing. They are still staying out, and they're getting below that 30% margin now. So the main thing for Bottas is I think they're running in tandem kind of, and that's made the overtake a little bit more difficult. But there we go. Bottas is up now. Can start to make some moves. Show has been caught up by both Russell and Ocon. But as those medium tires degrade, Show will probably have a little bit more fight in him, so to speak. We could tune him down, though. Tune him down to aggressive. Because right now, unless we can actually pull away from both Ocon and Russell, it's better to save as much time as we can for the fight later with them, honestly. So we'll try and do that, manage Show here with Ocon and Russell, and we'll see where we end up. Again, Magnussen and Stroll are probably going to end up puncturing here pretty quickly. So I'm going to speed things up a little bit for Show, because as you can see now, Ocon might be trying to leave us behind. Because we have, well, a little bit of a roadblock there to contend with. I'd like for us to get by Ocon as well here. There we are. I am tempted to go always defend as well. To try and get a little bit more of a gap here for Bottas. But honestly, I think this is okay. Russell has kind of been left behind now. We have another penalty ahead of us. Perez and Hamilton had a bit of a moment by the looks of things.
So here we go, heading into turn 1. Not a lot of wiggle room here. Has to be said,
that's a bit worse. Looks like both of them are going to have basically pretty bad tires after that. Yeah, Perez at 23%, Hamilton at 64%. So Hamilton survived in terms of tires. Did he survive in terms of front wing? There's light damage to it. So we should have no problem here catching Perez. That's going to be actually pretty simple for Bottas. Again, Show is going to have a bit of a problem here with the fact that he has, you know, 2 people right behind him. And that's not going to change. We can't pull away from them. Not yet anyways. But as their tires get worse and worse, it's going to become more and more viable. So we'll have to see exactly how and if we can make that work. I'm curious if Bottas can actually run quicker lap times than Hamilton now. We are getting also to the point now where we might be able to, you know, choose to run aggressive for the last 3 or so laps. And we are catching a little bit. They caught about 3/10, so if we go all in, then maybe we can make something happen. But at the same time, it's going to require a bit of a gamble in terms of the tire wear. I think it is a gamble, though. We're willing to... No, we're going to have to wait until like lap 53 to do that gamble, I think. But yeah, sorry that there's so much of this race included, but at the same time, this is been kind of an interesting one. Some degree. Show now is kind of pulling away from Ocon, so that one should be a done deal. Hopefully now that he's out of DRS, although Russell and Ocon could DRS train off each other to catch up again. But if they end up fighting, that would actually be the best scenario in best case scenario for us. But it looks like they have reattached themselves with that DRS train. Bottas isn't really gaining anything more here, as you can see too. So I think this is what we're going to have to try and be happy with. Although for sure, of course, we are going to go full on attack it till the end. See if we can keep Russell at bay. For Bottas now, we can gamble a little bit more with going aggressive. Should just about have the tires to make that work. Or, yeah, it's going to hit about 28% if we do that. So we're going to have to run standard for even another lap here. On the other news, Show has been overtaken here by Russell. He's actually also been kind of left behind. So we can deploy here to try and close that gap again. And that's going to be the goal there. But yeah, I don't think there's any point here for Bottas to go anything more aggressive because we don't have the tire to make it work, unfortunately. For Show, staying behind now until we start last lap because, let's face it, Verstappen just started it. We have 1.5 laps to go. We can deploy here till the end. Should be able to. And that is kind of what we're going to do here. We're also going to be pushing fuel before and during the ERS zones. Sorry, DRS zones, so we can kind of make sure we stay clear. And I think we have a pretty good result here on our hands. Although we did play, you know,
over the finish line,
kind of Grand Theft breaking the car at one point. But yeah, as you can see, Bottas is hitting that 30% mark. So unfortunately with that, probably not going to be able to catch Hamilton, even with the damage he had.
That's it, the checkered flag.
He did extend towards
We
the
are
end, but
P6.
still, 6th and 7th here. We'll take that. That's not a bad result at all. And we'll have to see now how we look financially, because that is my biggest concern. We did spend a lot of money this race weekend on parts, and we're going to have to replace those parts that got broken. So financially, we might be in a tad bit of trouble here. But Verstappen wins, Leclerc second, we have Alonso third, Sainz, Hamilton, then us, Russell, Ocon, Perez. So only one Alpine in the points, which means that we should be getting a decent haul here compared to them. But Verstappen now is in charge of the championship. Perez is 7 points behind, 4 races to go, Mexico next. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. So yeah, we have a pretty healthy lead still, 40 points, 4 races to go. Unless they pull off something magical, 5th place should be ours. And pit crews wise, we did very, very well. So yeah, we'll take this. We did fail our Q2 and qualifying position targets though, as I said, because we qualified 15th and 16th, which is why we took those penalties for new components. But it is just what it is. Sometimes we're just going to have to bite the apple. We still have 10 million left to go here. But at the end of the season, I really would like us to have 20 to 30 million in the bank, just so that we have something that we can play with next season. Or rather than play with, something to use to, you know, get things going. We also do need to get some upgrades going on the race sim, on the team hub. We haven't actually focused team hub for the time being because we haven't had need to. Would also like to upgrade a few more things here. Factory level 3, design center. But financially, we just aren't capable of you know, getting that done at the moment. Underfloor needs replacement. Honestly, here we're just going to go through the warehouse and, you know, see what we can replace. Sidepod, the suspension, we're going to need 2 of these, but again, manufacturing project is already underway. So once those projects finish, we'll have to see if we actually have enough of the parts that we need here. Suspension research is also completed, which means that we'll just do another one immediately. Suspension is one of the things that we are kind of falling a little bit behind on. And it is actually really important for your low-speed cornering and your brake cooling. So that last CFD period might actually go into the suspension here. Although we are going to need more engineers if we want to get it done in time for that. Because we need 40 days. You know what? We're going to nab 3 of your engineers. And put you over here. And that should give us just about enough time to do a full 40-day suspension project with that last safety period. And I think we are going to have to do that. Like, I want to do rear wing because I enjoy DRS overtakes. But at the same time, the suspension is just so important for the brake cooling. It's so important for the low-speed cornering. And it actually does give you a decent amount of cornering in every stat. Of course, getting the underfloor upgraded as well is going to be nice. But I think the suspension and the sideboards probably should have taken priority here rather than the front wing. Like, it does give a huge amount of cornering. This gives us a decent amount of DRS, drag reduction. But at the same time, we have things that we need to kind of focus on more so than other things. Now, you have a contract starting in the 1st of January, so that red dot is very misleading. You are safe. And what I wanted to have a look at here is the cost cap now. So we have 8 million left on the cost cap. 4 races, 8 million, which means that the only thing that we're really going to be able to do now is, honestly, we're not going to make any new parts. It's 4 races left. We're not going to make any new parts. We're not going to buy any new parts. Those 8 millions are going to go into getting the final set of research projects going. Nothing more, nothing less. Because we kind of have to. It is probably quite gamey, honestly, and I wish this episode was a bit longer, but we spent a lot of time already, I believe. So I'm going to end it here for the express purpose of asking you all. Do you think that we should retire the car if we need to? To not massively break cost cap? Because again, yeah, we have spent a lot of money already. We'll try our best with what we have now. But we're going to have a hard time getting anything more out of the season. There's literally nothing in it for us. So should we, if we need to retire the car, say if we have any more crashes, because we've had quite a few lately, should we use older parts? Honestly, that one is probably going to be done anyways, but I'd like to hear what you think about it. And those are the 2 questions that I like to ask at the end of this episode. Should we retire the cars if necessary? Keep them completely out of the race, for instance? Should we, you know, completely skip any more manufacturing? Just do what research as we can? And generally, I think we don't have much of a choice in that matter. It's just what we're going to have to do here. So we're going to do another chassis project for sure. We're going to do another signpod project for sure. I don't know if we'll have time to get another underfloor project going. So we might do a rear wing project here and switch this one over to, say, the chassis. We'll have to see. We should have enough time for a sidepod project, and we should have just about enough time for a suspension project here as well. So yeah, probably going to do one more research project for each of those, and that's going to be it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. I was really hoping to get 3 races done this time around, but we had a pretty interesting, couple of interesting race weekends, although there were a lot of breakage there. So it is what it is. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. And we'll have to see if we maybe just kind of speedrun the last 4 races this season, so we don't drag it out too much, because that's what I feel is happening right now. With everything going on the races, it gets dragged out a tad too much for what the purpose of this series actually was. But we've already achieved that purpose, so I guess it might be fine. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope to see you around next time. Bye bye. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe. Helps me out a ton. Bye bye again.